Oh, well, hello there. How rude of me. How are you? I thought I would do a very sophisticated video about my favorite adult beverage to enjoy. So why don't you just sit back there, pour yourself a nice tall glass, and enjoy. Oh, who am I kidding? I can't do this formal kind of stuff. Let me take this off. I tried to put this on to impress you guys, but you saw right through it, didn't you guys? I'm not very fancy by any means. I'd rather be in a t-shirt, but I do really enjoy my whiskey. So today I figured I'd bring you a few interesting facts about whiskey for you, those that do not know. Now, whiskey is often pictured as a very manly drink, which I do enjoy that as well. Not really a drink for people that don't enjoy the taste. I love the taste. The burn is part of it. The smell is all part of it. Now, just like fancy wine drinkers, there's a lot of fancy whiskey drinkers. I'm not myself a fancy whiskey drinker, but I'm trying to slowly become one because I am starting to enjoy the taste of straight whiskey by itself a lot more than I did a while ago. So my first interesting fact is that oftentimes the people who sample whiskeys or whiskey connoisseurs are more about the actual smell. I have not gotten to the point where I can totally differentiate the flavors and everything from smelling because, like I said, I just started drinking whiskey by itself now. I don't mix it as much anymore. But when you go to smell it, you actually get a lot of the flavor in the whiskey itself. Another thing is the color of whiskey. So whiskey will actually come out completely clear when it's made, and the color comes from the barrels it's aged in. So the darker a whiskey is, the longer it's aged is typically the rule. But there are some whiskeys that add extra ingredients into them to make them darker and to make them more appealing to everybody. So I don't have an actual bottle today, but a little shooter of Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels is often a darker color, and that's because they, like many others, will add an extra ingredient in there just to get the darker color. I don't know exactly why they do it, maybe just to make it more appealing. Doesn't really change the flavor by any means, but obviously there's a different flavor based on the age and the type of barrel that it's aged in. Now, in Kentucky alone, there is, I believe there's like 5.7 million barrels currently aging right now. Now, like I said, my favorite is Crown Royal. Crown Royal is a Canadian whiskey, so even though I'm very patriotic and supporter of America, obviously, this is still a very delicious whiskey. I like Crown because it's so smooth and there's not as much of a bite when you're drinking it. It's got a really good taste and it just goes down super easy. Jack is not one of my favorites. I'll drink it, but it has more of a bite to me. It is a little bit sweeter, but I don't feel like it's as smooth as Crown. Now, whiskey by itself is called whiskey neat. A lot of people drink with on the rocks. I actually just got these. They're called whiskey rocks, and it's basically like a stone. And it freezes. It goes in the refrigerator, the freezer, and gets really cold and keeps your whiskey freezing without introducing any melting water into it. So when you add water into whiskey, if you add just a fine amount, it actually brings out a couple of the flavors. But it can get watered down pretty easy if you have a couple ice cubes in there, and it will completely alter the taste. So if you're a whiskey connoisseur, somebody who really enjoys whiskey straight, whiskey neat, you probably don't want to use ice as much, but you probably already know that. So whiskey rocks are a great addition to use if you're going to be continuing drinking whiskey just by itself. Now, when whiskey is made, obviously they add water in there. It's not all straight alcohol. There's obviously water in it all. Depending on the location and type of water that's used, it actually alters its flavor as well. So a lot of places in Kentucky will actually use caverns or underground streams because they're so pure and so rich. And there's not as much iron in them, so it's actually a really good area to get water from, and that'll help the whiskey taste better. There's actually a whiskey that I really want to try. It's called Tin Cup, and it's made out of Colorado, and they actually use water from the mountains, and it's supposed to be pretty refreshing, but I haven't tried it yet, so I'm kind of excited to go find a bottle in a store. Another interesting fact is that not all, but most whiskeys are actually made at a higher proof originally than they are when they're finished. So Jack Daniels, I believe, starts at about like 150 proof, and they drop it down to somewhere in the low hundreds after it's completely done, and then that's when they'll sell it to everybody. There are a million different types of whiskeys, but the primary area where a lot of it will come out of is Kentucky, Tennessee area. They're really known for whiskey, and that is a lot due to the water that's out there that's low in iron. Weather will also affect your whiskey, so in a place up north or like Crown in Canada, the weather's not very, it's not very normal. It's jumping around a lot throughout the year, so it'll affect the aging and the flavor as well of the barrel, which is so that's just a few quick interesting facts about whiskey I wanted to share with you guys today. Whether you like it on the rocks, mixed, straight, whatever it is, go out and have a glass for me tonight.